Let me ask you something. What if heaven and hell aren't places you go after you die? What if they're actually states of mind that you are creating for yourself, right here, right now? Today, we're going to dive into a really different way of looking at these ancient ideas, not as destinations, but as perceptions. Right off the bat, we're hit with this huge paradox. We're told we have free will, but if we choose the wrong path, the punishment is forever. Does that really sound like a choice? It's this tension that kind of unlocks this whole new way of looking at things.
So why would a system like this even exist? Well, it seems to boil down to two totally different forces: fear versus inspiration. Fear, it's a shortcut. It's fast, it's efficient, and it definitely gets people to comply. But inspiration, that builds something real, something that lasts. It builds trust and actually transforms people from the inside out.
And this quote just hits the nail on the head. The argument here is that putting fear into sacred teachings wasn't just about theology. It was a really practical tool for governance. Because let's be real, a population that's afraid is just way easier to control than one that's inspired to think for itself.
To make this super clear, the source gives us this really powerful analogy about training a pit bull. You could use domination and fear, but what do you get? Resistance. Or you could use respect and patience and build a real partnership. The same principle, it argues, applies to all of us.
Okay, so if the traditional view of heaven and hell can be seen as a tool for control, what's the alternative? This is where we take a huge turn. What if these concepts aren't places at all, but experiences we're creating inside our own heads? Now, this is really important. The author isn't trying to say they have all the answers about the afterlife. In fact, they argue that claiming you know for sure what can't be known, well, that's just arrogance. So the focus shifts away from the afterlife to something we can actually know, our own experience, right now. And here it is, the core idea. Heaven and hell get a whole new definition. They're not places you go. They are lived experiences created moment by moment. It all comes down to the glasses you're wearing, the lens you see the world through.
And to show you this isn't just some philosophical theory, the author gets really personal. They ground this whole thing in direct human experience, which makes it feel so much more real.
So what does this internal hell actually feel like? It's when your whole world is just filtered through suffering. It's that state where you're constantly fighting against reality, questioning why you even exist, and seeing conflict absolutely everywhere you look. But, and this is the hopeful part, just as we can create our own hell, we have the exact same power to create our own heaven. It's the other side of the coin. It proves our internal state isn't permanent. It's a choice.
And the experience of heaven on earth? Well, it's defined by the total opposite feelings. It's found in those small moments of deep gratitude or just being in awe of existence. It's a state of mind that's not about resisting, but about peacefully accepting life, just as it is.
And that right there, that's the whole point. The world outside can be exactly the same, but our inner experience of it can be either heaven or hell. It completely depends on our perception. It's like the paintbrush we use to color our own reality.
So how do we actually do this to ourselves? How do we create this internal hell?
Well, it's a cycle. It starts with reality. Something just is. Then our minds jump in and we judge it. We label it good or bad. That creates this conflict, this gap between what's happening and what we think should be happening. And that gap, that's our personal hell.
So what's the way out? The goal here, what some people might call enlightenment, isn't about getting some superpower. It's actually much simpler and way more profound. It's the ability to just watch reality happen without constantly slapping a label on it, to just let things be.
Now look, this might sound a little out there, maybe like an impossible dream. The author gets that. But by quoting John Lennon, they're tapping into this universal human hope for peace and a better way of living. It reminds us that we're not alone in wanting this. And in the end, this whole idea comes right back to you. It's not about some distant future or a place you can't even see. It's about right now, this very moment. So, based on your perception, your focus, your judgments, which world are you creating for yourself today?